The reason sustainable weight loss takes so long is because we're actually looking at the root cause and the mindset, thought patterns, behaviors, habits that go into what is your lifestyle going to be when you finish, as opposed to here's this temporary thing that you're going to short-term sacrifice for. Social events, fuck them out the window. Carbs, get rid of them for some stupid reason. Everything that you've ever liked in terms of food, don't worry about it. You're doing this so that you can hit this weight on the scale. Everybody, welcome to Inside the Genies Lamp. We're actually doing more collabs this time around, and this time we have Laura in the studio.
Hey guys.
Collabs, all the fun stuff. So for those of you that are not in either the free Discord community or the one-on-one Discord community where you pay us literally anything from $1, you go into that community. In both communities that we have, community is a catchphrase of today. In both of those communities that we have a little section in there for our podcast in terms of what questions or topics do you want to see discussed. Now, we have 5 questions that we are endeavoring to get through, whatever the correct pronunciation is. We're going to try and get through these. We're going to try and keep it under an hour, but by the time that you're listening to this and you're seeing the end result, we either failed or succeeded, and you know that more than we do at the moment. So the first one, this is how this is going to work so that people listening know what to do, and then so we know what we're doing as well.
Oh gosh.
So we're off to a cracker already. So I'm going to ask the first question. You will ask the second, but I'll ask the first question. You give me your opinions and thoughts on that, and then I'll give my opinions and thoughts on that. We're obviously going to differ in some of these things, and that's totally fine. At the end of it, whether we agree or disagree or whatever it's going to be, we are going to try and come to a conclusion for the client, if that makes sense. So even if we have differing views, it's going to be what's going to be best for the client, or how can we get an answer for the client? Did that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it made sense, but you've now put me on the spot. So I've got to have questions in front of me.
Oh, no, sorry. You know what? That's okay. I'll ask.
Well, no, I'm just opening up the Discord to get the questions. So I was like, oh, shoot. All right, I better get them.
I'll tell you what, I'll quickly DM, because as soon as I said that, I saw your eyes darting everywhere, and I was like, ooh, what have I done? There you go. I just DM'd them to you. That's the order that I'm going in. Look at that.
Okay. All right.
Look at us being organized.
I'm going to follow your lead, Trav.
We'll get there. It'll be fine. We're 2 minutes 30 into it, and we're already killing it. All righty. So first off, we're going to jump in. Dear Laura, why do I get sick or feel run down after exercising consistently for a few weeks? It seems like I suffer a knockback every 3 weeks or so.
Yes. So this question was asked by one of my clients. So I know her background and her history. And just to give a general answer, I would say it might be something that you're doing with your exercise routine, but it could also be a number of factors that's going on within your lifestyle outside of your exercise. So is it something to do with your nutrition? Is it something to do with sleep, your sleep cycle, or stress levels throughout the day? I would probably think it's something to do with that rather than what you're actually doing in the gym, especially since I'm the one programming for that client. So I know that it's not the exercise. Turns out that she's actually on night shifts during this period. So that's actually what was happening. But it could, in saying that, it could be something to do with the exercise routine. What's going on with the exercise? How intensely are you working within your sessions? Are you doing lots of HIIT training? Are you doing things that are really aggravating your nervous system? And if that's the case, then I would say we need to just bring some more mindful, more calmer movement to your exercise routine in order to just let you be able to sustain a more regular workout. I think my word at the moment is routine. I keep bloody saying it. But yeah, in order to be able to just keep consistent with your workouts is to just maybe reduce the intensity of them. And that should be able to stop you from feeling sick like every 3 weeks or so.
Yeah. Awesome. I said that we would disagree, but I pretty much agree with everything you said there. So yeah, one of the big questions that I always ask everyone, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about it, but I know that fucking everybody has heard me talk about it, which is, what's your capacity? So first thing I do is, okay, what do you, like, if this were to come up and this were a client of mine, like, why am I getting so run down after 3 weeks? The first question would be, what are you doing in that 3 weeks? Because my brain would just instantly go to, okay, 3 weeks isn't a massive amount of time to allow for like burnout. So in the initial 3 weeks there, because the question is about exercise, obviously I'm going to start focusing on that. And then I would go, what are you doing in there? Is this person doing HIIT or like F45 or CrossFit or like massively intense stuff? And they're trying to do the classic all or nothing. They're going from nothing. And then they're like, well, now I'm doing 6 days a week, hour sessions, and sometimes I'm doing back-to-backs. And then they're like, oh my God, I can't sustain this for 3 weeks. Why is that? That's the first place that I'll go. If I had the context of knowing, oh, my face. If I had the context of knowing what this person was doing, exercise routine and stuff like that, my next question would be exactly what you said, which is just phrased differently, which is, what's your capacity at the moment for stuff that isn't exercise? Are you sleeping well? Are you eating well? What's all the behind the scenes stuff that we're not talking about? Because my head is always like, what's the lead up to? So if this is the burnout point, or if this is the thing that we're talking about or discussing, what leads into that, as opposed to how do we fix just this thing here? I mean, obviously that's everybody listening to this podcast and why they're listening to it, because we address root cause issues that happen all the way back here. But that's just where my brain goes. If it's not the all or nothing 6 days a week, then it would be, what's your sleep? What do you have, like, habits that, apart from exercise, could be contributing to the burnout with that?
Yes, yeah, I totally agree. And with the exercise, when you're talking about CrossFit and F45 and things like that, look, some of these can be great for you. I would never stop anyone from doing something that they truly enjoy, but maybe it's cutting down from like 3 or 4 sessions a week to maybe introducing some bodybuilding sessions or some low intensity cardio, instead of doing, 4-5 workouts of just CrossFit or just F45, because that's a lot of impact on the body, a lot of impact on your nervous system, and recovery time is important in order to see progress and results.
Yeah. And as much as I talk shit about F45 and CrossFit and stuff, mainly because that's not the demographic that I work with, but I have had clients in the past where they're like, you know what? I feel like I'm just going to do F45 and we can just do nutrition mindset. Like, sweet, go for it. As long as it feels good and you can do that,
Yeah.
and you feel awesome, then keep doing it. Like,
I think that's the most important thing. But like, you have to make sure that you enjoy it. F45, like, I think it depends on the people who are coaching the F45 in the studio. So I've done it
100%.
personally myself. I've done it once or twice myself when it just started up home, when I was still living in London, and I'd go with a friend just for like 1 or 2 sessions. And I'm not going to lie, like, the amount of impact in one session was ridiculous. And I had shin splints afterwards. It was so intense. But then another session that I had in another studio, it was like a bodybuilding session, just like a really long circuit, and there was hardly any impact at all. So it was fine. So
Yeah.
it's very dependent.
Yeah. Same thing. Like, everything is going to be different, unique. This is always in my experience, most, but not all. Like, you can get that in literally everything. So as long as it's working for you, you have the capacity to do it, you know what you're doing, go for it. If you're enjoying it and having fun, that's the end of the day thing that we want, for you to be happy, healthy, moving, and having fun, regardless of how that looks.
Yes. And I just wanted to touch on as well, like, since it was my client's question and she was on night shifts at the time, something that I ask my clients is, when they go on night shifts, is to communicate with me, and how are you feeling in terms of your mood and your energy levels and things like that. And I checked in with her and she said that she was struggling, and I said, okay, we're going to bump your food up. So that's an example of what you could do. Rather, okay, if it's not the exercise and it's something going on in your lifestyle, if you are on night shifts, if you are really struggling with your sleep, maybe we need to increase the amount of food you're consuming in order to help you not feel so run down and help you get back on track.
Yeah. We could make a whole episode out of night shift and what to do for that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But there's heaps of stuff that's going to lead into this, which is instead of, this is going to sound weird, but instead of the question of like, why do I get sick or feel run down after exercising consistently for a few weeks? It's going to be, what am I doing in that few weeks, as well as exercise, that is leading to the burnout? I feel like that's going to be the overall better question. Instead of saying exercise equals burnout, it's going to be all of this other stuff that flowcharts into this burnout answer. So if there is anyone out there that does like feel burnt out or run down or whatever from exercise, I'm going to say because, well, whatever we're going to go with. I would recommend considering what is everything that is leading into that burnout: exercise, sleep, night shift, anything to do with work, whatever it is. Consider everything.
Yes, exactly. Look at the whole picture.
Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. Consider everything. Goodbye.
Easy, done.
Done. Alrighty, next question.
All right, so I say this one, right?
Yes. Like, this is mine, Travis. Stop talking. This is mine.
I'm on it. Okay, so why does sustainable weight loss take so long?
I can't answer this. Goodbye. The reason I believe sustainable weight loss takes so long is because we're not looking at, and this is actually a really good time that this is coming up, because I just got off the phone with a client that said, tangibly, is that the word I'm going with? Everything that we can track in terms of numbers, like nutrition, she's smashing it. She's within like 5%, 2% of her numbers when everything is going well. And everybody can stick to a meal plan or numbers or temporarily do this short-term sacrifice thing to be able to hit these numbers, to be able to lose weight. Super high majority of people can do that. But then what came up in this call, which relates to the sustainability of this weight loss, is, but I haven't had chocolate in 3 weeks. And that's her emotional support food. That's her thing that she loves. And that's her jam, really. She's missing that. And I said, cool. Why? Where can we put that in? Or why are we not doing it? And there was a 20-minute chat, like back and forth on this. Came to the answer of, I can't trust myself with chocolate. If it's in the house, I'm going to have all of it. If there's a little bit here, I'm going to have this massive binge on the chocolate. And for anyone else, it could be insert emotional comfort food here. The reason sustainable weight loss takes so long is because we're actually looking at the root cause and the mindset, thought patterns, behaviors, habits that go into what is your lifestyle going to be when you finish, as opposed to here's this temporary thing that you're going to short-term sacrifice for. Social events, fuck them out the window. Carbs, get rid of them for some stupid reason. Everything that you've ever liked in terms of food, don't worry about it. You're doing this so that you can hit this weight on the scale. When you hit that weight on the scale, because we haven't addressed the habits, the thought patterns, all that stuff. And if I'm just using this client as an example, because we haven't built the trust with yourself around particular foods, it's more than likely going to come back with a vengeance when we have that particular thing. We say, sweet, we're not tracking anymore. We've hit the goal weight. We can go back to doing what we were doing. And this is going to hit some people of, you signed up to this program doing the habits, behaviors, thought patterns, because for whatever reason, there was something that needed improvement or something that you wanted to get better at. You wanted a better life when you signed up to this program. That's 99% of people. And if we don't address anything in terms of how you got there in the first place, and we just short-term sacrifice to get there, it takes a lot longer to be able to build those, essentially get rid of those habits and then put new ones in. And then make aware the thought patterns that are going on in the negative space, and then try and replace them with positive ones. Whereas if I were to have someone sign up for 8 weeks, depending on the person, of course, I could easily just say, hey, 8 weeks, yeah, I can get you to lose 10 kilos. It's going to be unsustainable as fuck. And you're just going to do this, and you're going to be hungry every day, and you're going to sleep like shit, and all of these negatives, but you'll be 10 kilos down. I'm willing to bet that both you and I would be able to unethically be able to say, we can make you lose 10 kilos in 8 weeks. Done. Give us a lot of money for it. But the exact same thing, it's going to come back with a vengeance because we haven't addressed the stuff that led you to being in the quote unquote negative space in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why sustainable weight loss takes so long, because we have to figure out, why are you getting triggered? Where are these triggers coming from? How can we replace them? When it comes up, what can we do about it? Those are the real questions that are going to take you to change your life, instead of how do we just get you to lose X amount of weight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think also it's, I mean, with my clients, if they have quote unquote poor eating habits, and for instance, they're very inconsistent and they're going up and down every day, like by a large margin, I will start them off not necessarily eating in a deficit. I'll just get them trying to eat consistently first. I'll try and get them used to eating a certain amount. And so they're not going to necessarily see results straight away. They're going to make little changes, incremental changes over the time that we're together. And maybe in the first 6 weeks, they might not see any difference, but they've seen all these lifestyle changes. And then I have to remind them and say, look, stick with it. We're doing this for a reason. Remember the end goal, but see how much you've changed over this time already and how good you feel. Yeah, the weight hasn't moved yet, but you feel so much better, right? And then they start thinking, okay, so it's not just about the weight either. It's not just about the way that I look. It's about the way that I feel and the way that I feel about myself, my own thought patterns about myself. And then when the weight starts coming off, they're like, oh, this is a nice byproduct. So it does happen. It takes its time. There is a reason for it. There's a method to our madness. And it all ends up linking together in the end. So by the end of the time together, you're ready to go. Not only are you satisfied with who you are and how you can maintain this for a long period of time, you also feel physically better within yourself as well.
Yeah. And that's something that goes into the style of coaching that we do. I wish I could say, this is my style of coaching and how I do this, and this is how Laura treats her clients and this and that. But because everybody's so unique and we have that massive customizable approach, it's like, I've got clients that have signed up and not seen weight loss, but they've changed everything about them internally. And then I'm willing to bet that you've had some of them, and people are going to see a whole lot of different results.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
there's just no one way about it. And that's the pain in the ass thing, particularly when I'm on the phone and being like, so what does the program look like? I don't know. I have no idea.
We'll find out when we're in it.
Let's just fucking wing it. Let's just go for
it. Yeah, it's so true. And I mean, like I was telling you, Trav, earlier, like I was speaking to someone and we weren't even on a program yet. And suddenly I started asking this lady questions that she'd never been asked before. And they were questions that no one had even asked her, and she'd never considered what these answers were. And we're here to ask the hard questions. We're here to kind of put a mirror in front of you and show you what's going on and how we can change things. And it's going to take time. How long is it taking you to get to where you are now? How long is it going to take to undo some of those negative, disserving habits? It's a long process, and that's why we're doing this, because the majority of the fitness industry is all about fast results, but at the end of the day, the person's no happier, really. Whereas I hope that our clients are happy by the end of this.
Yeah. We'll say we are. We have feedback forms for that. And they look good so far.
Yes,
so they're looking good. Yeah, but it does take a while. Like the exact same thing that you just said. Well, not the exact same thing, but in that same realm. Client call today. Man, I was like, man, I'm having such a shit day. But then I look at the client calls I've had. I'm like, man, I've actually done pretty well. Even with a quarter of a brain that's active. We were, ironically, I forgot what I was about to say. Client called today, and there was a massive emotional response, and she signed up last year for 12 months. And the funny thing about this was when we started the program last year, and I was like, hey, let's sign up. Awesome. Let's go 12 months. Shit, that's going to be awesome. We're going to take our time with this. We're going to figure out what we do. What is the first step? And we're just going to do that. Last year, she was like, I don't know. I just don't cry. I just can't cry. Don't know what it is. And then we got on the phone today. What is that? So about 3 months. Got on the phone today and just a ball of tears. And it was like, oh my God, I've had this massive breakthrough. We've done this, we've done that. Before that massive emotional response came in, there was, I'm not sure if I'm where I wanted to be on this program. I feel like I'm wasting the program. I feel like it's just not for me. I feel like I'm not seeing results. And this is at least 50% of my clients. They hit some stage and they go, I'm not sure if this is where I want to be, or this is where I wanted to be at this point. And then that's where, obviously, what you said before, you remind people, you've done this. When was the last time that you didn't cry yourself to sleep because of food? Oh yeah, good point. Okay. When was the last time that you did this? And then when we're bringing up the results that are intangible, that you can't exactly see in the mirror, that's where people go, oh, fuck. Okay. What I said to her was, we're not here for that quick fix thing. Like, we didn't sign up, tell me if I'm wrong, but we didn't sign up to lose massive amounts of weight. She's like, no. I'm like, cool. Why did we sign up? And then we went through the main reasons why she signed up. And of course, they were all mindset, relationship with herself and everything. And I said, cool. Even if we haven't lost X amount of weight by this time, the results from what you said last year was that you never cry. You just can't cry. You're not sure what it is that's going to take you to be able to break through and to be able to get to the life that you want. If this program is acting as a catalyst for you to be able to go talk to your therapist or partner or like boss or this, that, whatever, and make those and have those difficult conversations to be able to get something back, that's what the program is. And that's why we're here, because that's how you're going to get a better life. And that's how it's going to be easier for you long-term to remove all of these stresses and to actually really go fucking deep on what we're actually doing here. And that, full circle, ties into why sustainable weight loss takes fucking ages, is because sometimes we have to drill a massive fucking hole and go right down, get all the golden nuggets that are there, and then come back up to the surface and then go, sweet, okay, we're ready. And then we'll start walking on the weight loss journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I often find a pattern where the first, let's say, 4 to 10 weeks is like the honeymoon period where everything's going really great. Everything's on track. You know, everyone's happy. And then I do tell people now before we start, like, look, it's going to be really great at first. You're going to have all the motivation to stick with this. And then it's going to hit. And I'm going to say it's going to be between like 6 to 12 weeks where something will happen.
Yeah.
Shit will hit the fan. Like, you will get sick. Something will stress you out at work. You end up going back to old habits. Christmas will happen, like all of these things. You go on holiday and then you come back and you feel shit and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to throw in the towel. I'm done with this. That's when the hard work starts. And that's when we start seeing changes. And it's not going to happen in the first 6 weeks. It's not going to happen in the first couple of sessions that we're working together. It's going to be further along the line, which is why we end up working with people for like 6 to 12 months, because we need that time to make those changes and be there for the person, their support, be there to support them during those times where they want to dip and they want to give up. And we can pick them back up again and allow them to continue. So then they know when they finish up that I've been through hard shit. I've been able to stick with it. I can do it again. I can continue to do this.
Yeah. That's what we want. We don't want a perfect program. And it sounds like such a dick thing to say, to be like, is this going to be an amazing program? No, it's going to be shit. And that's why
it's going to be reality. It's just going to be real life. Like, it's not going to be a movie. It's certainly not.
No, there was a client that signed up last year, and we finished up pretty much like, for me, it was Christmas Day. For her, it was Christmas Eve because she was in America. When we were talking, I was like, I reckon we can smash this out in 3 months. I reckon, based on what this call was, I reckon we can get you that result and this very particular thing that we were after. Because there's only that, I reckon we can do that in 3 months. She came back and said, yeah, I agree. But these next 3 months are my easiest that I have in terms of scheduling. I'm off work for a little bit. It's all chill. It's all this. But the 3 months leading into Christmas is when I get super busy, and that's when life gets hectic, and that's when I typically fall off. So let's do 6 months so that I know what life looks like, essentially super easy, super chilled. And then what does life look like when it's beyond hectic? And I was like, oh, thank fuck. That was the perfect answer. Let's do that. And
she took the words straight out of your mouth.
It's like, oh my God. Do you want to sign up? Do you want to get people onto the program for me? That was amazing. So yeah, that's what we want. We want to go through the hard shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a question for you.
All right, here we go. No, wait, hang on. Aren't I saying this one to you?
No, you gave me that one. I did the first, you did the second, I did the third.
What? So
did you just forget how to count?
No, I did the
you did the sustainable weight loss.
But I thought you wanted to answer this question.
Well, we both will.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. It's
I
all
wanted
right.
to see what you're going to say for this one. But okay, hit me. Let's see what comes out.
Like, I don't want to answer this one. Let me ask it. So,
all right.
The difference between light activity and moderate activity when it comes to working out your total daily energy expenditure, or TDEE. How much activity does it take to be moderately active?
Good question. And now I believe that Trav will probably give a scientific answer to this, but I'm not going to. Because every individual is different. And when it comes to your TDEE, when you're trying to work things out, you do kind of have to gauge it to your own like activity levels and how hard you work. Like someone who trains the same program as someone else might be working harder than that other person, but they're doing exactly the same thing. So it really does depend on the individual. But it is a good question. I mean, if you're light activity, I would say like the majority of that list, from like light activity to moderate activity to heavy activity, I can't remember, there's like 3 or 4, isn't there? 5, where they just go like more intense. Yeah. I would say light activity is someone who's got like a sedentary job, who maybe walks on their commute, or like is able to get like 5,000 steps in a day, maybe does some yoga throughout the week, but nothing too intense. And then moderate activity would be that little bit more, maybe someone who trains like 2-3 times a week in the gym, still has a sedentary job, fits in again like 5,000 steps, or maybe does less workouts but does closer to like, I don't know, 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day, and then it just slowly increases. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that one.
Cool. And I am done.
You go.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree. The thing that I used to say, it was particularly when it was figuring out someone's calorie deficit, it was like, what are the things that you are doing exactly? How many steps are you getting? How many days are you active? And for how long? It used to be those type of questions and answers. The thing that I've come to realize is that it's always based on the person, pretty much what you're saying, RPE, rate of perceived exertion. Because for me to be moderately active, like I believe I am at the moment lightly active. And for me, I know that that looks around 6,000 steps a day and going to the gym 5 days a week for like, oh my God, how long? Like 45 minutes. But my 45 minutes at the gym are very not what they used to be. They're very just go there. Yeah, cool. I'm doing a little bit of cardio. Now I'm lifting this heavy thing. Okay, I think I'm done. That's what my workout is at the moment. For me, I would consider that light activity for me, because I know what my high end capacity is. And it's, for a lot of fitness professionals, it's fucked. But to be able to do that right now is just not feasible, especially considering when I came from heavy activity and I was actually in the gym every single day, 20,000 steps plus the like showing how to demonstrate this movement. And then I would do my workout, and then I would have to walk to go get lunch, and then I would come back, and then I'd demonstrate more stuff for 6 hours. Even at that time, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty active, like not, massively. But looking back, I was like, yeah, that was a lot. So for me, it does come down to, what are you currently doing and what do you believe your capacity is? And then almost like meeting them in the middle of, because obviously if someone is completely sedentary, desk work, 2,000 steps a day, drives everywhere, and in every sense of the word is inactive, yeah, I would just consider that straight up sedentary. But then to be able to get them to do something that would be considered light or moderate, particularly when it comes to working out their TDEE, like what their maintenance calories is and how to calculate their deficit. For me, it's going to be more of the, I nearly said bless you for some reason.
No, that was
bless
a cough,
you for
guys.
coughing.
That was not a sneeze.
Shut up, please.
I was trying to do off the camera.
Straight into the other camera. So yeah, relating it to finding someone's calories, I'm always just pretty conservative, and I always just go, cool, well, unless they're active at work, like getting heaps of steps in at work, or like a concreter or a carpenter or something like that, I always tend to just put people somewhere in the middle. Like, and again, calculating deficits, I tend to be conservative with it. I tend to put people at, because there's 5 things, I tend to put people at like a 2.5. And then I'm just like, sweet, well, if that's that, and then that's your maintenance calories, particularly with the type of clients that we work with, that if I give them calories that start with a 2, they're probably going to freak the fuck out. So if I say, hey, eat 2,600 calories, because that's what the calculations are saying, and they're coming off the back of 1,700 calories, they're going to be like, no fucking way am I doing that. So in terms of what does it take to be lightly and moderately active in relation to calculating a deficit, I feel like that's sort of like 2.5. We have to answer them individually and then meet in the middle somewhere. It's not going to be well, you walked an extra day, so that puts you over the threshold to be moderately active. So now you get an extra 400 calories. And then check in next week and it's like, oh my God, I didn't lose weight, but I was more active. And then that's where it can be dangerous, I believe, trying to figure out new calories every single week and like readjusting, like, oh, I lost 200 grams. I need to redo my deficit. Okay, sweet. Now this is my low deficit, because then you're just chasing your tail. And particularly because I know that this came from one of my, how do I say it? This came from an ex-client. This came from a graduate of mine. Let's go with that. That sounds fancy.
Graduate. Yeah, there we go. That sounds fancy.
That's super fancy. I should get like the little, like the triangle, the square hats with the little thing. I don't even know what they're called.
It's not part of the welcome pack. It's part of like
it's
the graduate
part of
pack.
The farewell pack, the graduate pack. Posting one of them and then just like, yeah. Little Canva bachelor degree in the back. That'd be awesome. I'm going to do that. Tennille, take notes. So yeah, it's always chasing your tail when it gets to that. And because I know that this lady, her light and moderate activity, her light activity, I would personally, if I were doing that, I would consider that like me being moderately active. So RPEs, perceived exertion.
Yeah. I do think it also depends. As I say, I do think, like we've said consistently throughout this, that it depends on the individual. But with that, like if you're the one doing it and working it out for yourself, and it's the first time that you're doing it and you're not quite sure which category you fall into, be conservative. I always say be conservative. So if you're like, oh, I'm between moderate and light, go for light, but then experiment with it. So go 1 to 2 weeks and judge how you're feeling. So if say you're doing it to find out your maintenance, if you're feeling starving on it, then eat. Okay, that wasn't accurate, so bump it up a little bit. Like it's not going to be exact for every single individual, because everyone's metabolisms run differently anyway. Like yeah, the amount that I would eat compared to someone else who does exactly the same activity as me, maybe they've got a way better metabolism and they can eat like 500 calories more than me and be totally fine. Whereas like I might not be able to get away with that. So again, see it as it's a calculation based on like averages. It's not going to be according to every single person. So it's okay to adjust as you go.
Yeah. And that's why we've got the 10% rule, because usually if you're within 10%, so for those of you that don't know the 10% rule, super quickly explained, for math's sake, because my brain's not working, if I gave you 1,500 calories, that means you can typically eat somewhere between 1,350 and 1,650. And as long as you're within that rough range, it's probably going to be good enough for you to see results. I'm not going to give you 1,500 straight off the bat, but anyway, that's what the 10% rule is. So even if you were to just throw a random number out there, let's just say 1,750 or 1,800, because I know that that's a number. If you were to do 1,800 calories and then you just tracked what you were doing for that week and then you just did that for 2 weeks, how did you feel? It's obviously gonna, like, the menstrual cycle would come into play a part of that in terms of fluid retention and stuff. But if you did that for 2 weeks, tracking 1,800 and you didn't lose weight, it's like, cool. Can we increase, like, can we decrease the calories that we're having by a little bit, or can we increase like step count? Do that for another 2 weeks, see how you go. Was that exactly what you said before? Was I hungry? Was I starving? Okay, that wasn't it. Where do we find this balance? And you just adjust based on how you're feeling. So you don't need to have, for this question, you don't need to have an equation of light activity or moderate activity. It can just be, I feel good on these numbers. And then you can just leave it at that. And then if you do want to lose weight, then do I want to increase physical activity or decrease calories? Which one seems more realistic? Because obviously if you're already on 1,500 and you're like, well, I want to lose a little bit more weight, and you go down to like 1,300, it's probably not realistic. You're going to stay there for a fair bit. Or can I get an extra 1,000 steps a day? Yeah, that seems more realistic. So, yes.
Agreed. Nod of approval.
Agreedo. Alrighty. So this next
Okay.
one's yours because that's number 4.
Okay, I'll read this one.
This guy.
This is going to be my question. Okay, never mind.
Mine'll be quick.
No, it's fine. So what sort of footwear is needed for a beginner and how to update it as one progresses?
I don't think mine is going to be as thought out as yours, because mine is typically, so what sort of footwear is needed for a beginner? I am just straight up just going to say a runner. Any sort of runner that you feel comfortable in, purely because I know that a lot of beginners that I've worked with in the past, they mainly stick to cardio. If I'm generalizing, a lot of beginners, I'll say like 80%, not many of them with their first introduction to the gym go to free weights and lifting and all that stuff, unless they have like a PT. If they're just doing it by themselves, I typically find that having like runners that are going to be comfy, that are going to help their joints because of the amount of cardio that they're going to end up doing, I would recommend that. The second part of that is how to update as one progresses. That's where I recommend shit like, in the intermediate phase, I would go like Converses, flat foot, or stuff that you can just easily slip on and off, because we're probably going to be getting into free weight stuff where I want you to feel how because it's related to not obviously how your shoulders are feeling and shit, but because it's relating to footwear, how does your foot feel? Can you actually contract the muscles in your foot? Oh my God, my face. Can you pin yourself to the ground? Can you root yourself into the ground? Can you do this? Can you do that? And being able to move your toes individually and getting a feel for the earth, that's what I want from an intermediate person. I mainly go up to like intermediate because for me, advanced gets to like Olympic lifts and like massive compounds that I don't feel comfortable coaching, because like Olympic lifts and stuff, as awesome as they are, I very rarely have coached them in the past, because I'm like, hey, squats, deads, bench, pull downs, all that stuff that you need to do, general basics, you can do all of that stuff. And then people will typically start progressing by being like, hey, sweet, I'm going to do this and try this and all that stuff. But short answer, I would start with something super cushiony, not like a nurse shoe or something, but something that you feel comfortable walking and running in. You don't have to wear scrubs, but you can if you want to. Something that you feel comfortable walking in because of the amount of cardio that most people are typically going to start off with. But otherwise, I would go for like a Converse or a flat shoe, something that you can actually feel when your toes are gripping the ground. And I realized I'm doing this hand motion and people aren't going to be able to see that, and it looks completely wrong. Anyway, that everything is wrong. As soon as you do this, it's like, nah. And then, yeah, obviously when you get to massive squats, deadlifts and stuff, maybe weightlifting shoes with like a little bit of a wedge, but.
All right. I
Your
agree.
turn.
I somewhat agree with you. I mean, I do agree with you. It all makes sense. And I think that was actually a well thought out answer, Trav. Although you said it wasn't going to be thought out, it was.
I was like, you sound so surprised. You're like, wow.
I
You
feel like
thought
the
about
teacher.
something.
Well done. Gold star for you, Trav.
Yes. I'm telling Beth.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think as a beginner, it does depend on what sort of program you're going on to. If you're someone who's going to do a lot of cardio, I would mimic the kind of shoes you're used to wearing, but having the end goal of going more minimalist further down the line. So I'm someone who wears barefoot shoes. So that's like your Vivo barefoot. So the ones that look like, I'm really not going to sell them, but they kind of look like flippers. They're not that attractive. Some of them are really attractive and they look lovely on your feet, but the Vivos not so much, but you get used to it and then yeah, they grow on you. But I like them because they have a very large toe box, so where your tootsies fit. And you want, like Trav said, you want a lot of space and a lot of wiggle room. They're also extremely thin, the soles, thin and flexible, so very minimal cushioning, and it's going to help with the proprioception of your feet, so you're able to feel the floor more, and the more you can practice feeling the floor more is going to help you with all your lifts and your movements. So that's what we'd aim to get to. But if you're coming from a place of wearing very cushioned shoes, then it's best not to go for that style straight away, because you do have to transition to them. It took me a while to transition, and I would wear them around the house first and then go for a short walk and then things like that. But as a beginner, I would say cushioned, not too cushioned, and try and prevent from getting one with like a really big heel and then it's being smaller near the front of the foot. So trying to make it even. Like you said, Converse are good and you can wear them in the gym for lifting. I personally don't feel like my feet fit properly in them. I feel like the toe box is actually really narrow, and that might be because I'm used to my flipper feet now. So
rock up in scuba gear. When you're very advanced, you'll learn how to dive.
They, like, honestly, they don't look that bad. I'm giving them a real bad rap, but I have loads of them, so obviously they look lovely on my feet. Anyway, yeah.
My feet are amazing and look awesome in these shoes, but you look like flippers.
But no, so Converse, I think, are a good option if you feel like you have quite narrow feet yourself. The shoes that I quite like are CrossFit style shoes, because they kind of cover all your bases. Because with CrossFit, you do a lot of running, you do cardio, you do weightlifting. It's so varied that they create shoes in order for you to be able to use them for all of these different methods of movement. I personally have some Reebok Nanos, which are really great because they have cushioning, but they've got a really large toe box, and they're quite flat as well, but they do have some cushioning, so they're not as intense as your Vivos. But yeah, so start with cushioning, and then I would say slowly wean yourself off them. In terms of going for weightlifting shoes, so this is something that I don't know if I agree with, to go, if you're advanced, to go with weightlifting shoes. Yes, it does depend on the sport that you're going into. If you're looking to go for like actual weightlifting and doing your snatches and your cleans and stuff, okay, weightlifting shoes would probably be great, especially if you're going to go competitively into powerlifting or weightlifting. However, I'm someone who's very I'm a massive advocate of flexibility and mobility. So any opportunity, what? Who would have thought that I would say that? Hence the flipper feet. I would take every opportunity to work on my mobility, even when it's in strength movements, so squatting and deadlifting and stuff. And actually, the reason that people wear weightlifting shoes is to have that slightly higher heel in order to allow them to get deeper into their squats and things like that. But why not work on your mobility in order to be able to do that barefoot? Because then you can utilize what you're doing in the gym in real life. You're not going to be wearing your weightlifting shoes, squatting to pick something up off the floor. So you might as well practice in the gym without them in order for it to transition to real life as well. But like I said, if you're actually doing it for a sport, then it's different. And maybe you do need to invest in those sort of shoes. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that one.
Solid. That was like 5 cents at least. That's quality value.
$1 million.
We'll send you all the invoice. Awesome. I reckon because this next one is going to be a doozy, I reckon we're going to call it there, because we've got the 4 there. And I know that this next one, and for those of you, spoiler alert, it is going to be navigating self-love / body neutrality and health at every size, while also changing your body at the same time. That's the headline. That's going to be the headline of the next one. But because I reckon that's going to be such a large topic that we can go down a whole bunch of different avenues with, I might be wrong. We might just smash it out in like 20 minutes, but I reckon we've got the 4 there. That's awesome. We're sitting at 45 minutes. And I reckon this one is probably going to be about half an hour. And I reckon that can be its own little sneaky episode there. And then maybe we'll see if we can get one more question out of everyone so that we can just make it 2 in case we do smash it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that next question is going to be a really good one, but I reckon it's going to take us on some avenues, and yeah, we're going to go down some rabbit holes.
Prepare to face reality, kids.
Yeah, I bet no one will listen. It will just be us having a good rant.
Yeah, and then we'll check the analytics. It's like, ooh, 7 people listened. Nice. One of them is my mum.
My mum does listen to everything that I do, actually. So
well, that's good. There you go. Well,
she'll be listening to this.
Hi, Mum. No, that's going to be good. I want to tackle that one at some point. We'll book that in together. But in the meantime, we've got those 4 questions there. If you are listening to this and you are not involved in any of the Discord communities, make sure you go to Instagram, like our Instagram at the Fitness Genie. Link in bio there has the link for you to join the free Discord community. Obviously, if you've paid us any sort of money, $1 or over, because I don't think we charge for anything that's less than $1, feel free to get in contact with us so that you can be a part of the client community, like the one-on-one client community. But otherwise, whether it's free or one-on-one, we are going to be asking a shitload more questions in those Discords to be able to get questions and topics like this so that Laura, Tanil, and I, my God, can run through them all and just provide even more value. But otherwise, if you want to get involved and have your say and get your questions answered, go to Instagram at the Fitness Genie, link in bio, join the free Discord community, or just cheat the whole fucking system and DM us. Just do that. But otherwise, Laura, thank you for joining us / hosting as well.
Thank you for having me, Trav.
Thank you, Mr. Morals. But we are going to call it there, and then we're going to book in a time and we're going to smash this navigating self-love / body neutrality and health at every size while also changing your body at the same time topic. We're going to get into that one next time. But from Laura and myself, and also Tanil, thank you all for tuning in. It has been an awesome episode, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.